Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. Welcome in. Come on into the house. Sit down and enjoy this episode of the Bookers Alliance podcast. Get yourself a ringside seat, your popcorn, your water, your whiskey, your wine, whatever your pleasure is.
WWW. Load them up.
Come on in the house and let's talk about something. We've noticed a trend that we've got to talk about real quick. There are some mid-year MVPs happening right now. Not talking about Montel. What was his name?
Vontavious Porter.
We ain't talking about
yeah, where's he at now? What's going? So not this year's MVP is the MVP and damn Bobby Lashley. How the hell did they find their way to get released?
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about last week, Shane McMahon and Tony Khan having a conversation. Maybe if Shane's going to infiltrate, AEW, bringing Bobby Lashley and MVP wouldn't be a bad start to it.
No, that wouldn't be a bad start. Now, MVP as far as wrestling goes.
Oh, no, hell no.
Them days.
He's the Paul Heyman.
Yeah,
he's
days
definitely
go by.
the advocate.
Days go by. He's the advocate.
Yeah, he's got to be an advocate or whatever he was calling himself, agent, I guess. But yeah, no, we don't need to see him in the ring no more.
But yeah, I hate Bobby Lashley if he's truly gone. I hate that. I was always a huge Lashley fan. But again, like I said, I'm a fan. So wherever he goes, I'm going to watch.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. I mean, it's a bottleneck at the top of WWE right now. I mean, there's only so many spots to be the top guy. And Bobby Lashley ain't really a secondary player. I mean, he did a lot of Intercontinental run, U.S. title run, time period, during his time. But I mean, hell, even that pool is kind of full right now, So now, he's kind of playing, around with the new Hurt Business and things like that. Right. But he was kind of like a third level guy. I mean, that ain't good for Bobby. So I get it, And at that point, when you're on the back 40, as they say, you don't want to be a third level guy. You want to get all the guys want to get that last one big run, and he wasn't gonna get that at WWE at 48 years old.
Could you get a reformation of the Hurt Business?
Almost. I mean, Cedric's still working over at NXT, so he ain't going nowhere no time soon. But Shelton Benjamin's free. His dance card's empty. So I mean, if you're looking for somebody,
who would you get your third member then?
I don't know. It depends on what they want to do with. I mean, so at AEW, a guy like Swerve would really fit in good to be the champ over there. I mean, but at that point, is Bobby Lashley playing second? Ooh. Is he possibly gonna, turn on Swerve and feud with him?
Triple H, Randy Orton.
Ooh. Yeah, that's why I mean. There's a lot of different ways you could go there. You got the old grizzled veteran, and you got the young heavyweight champ.
I wouldn't mind seeing Lashley going up for that.
And so it's starting to get fun as we're talking about. That could turn into a second half of the year MVP status if we wander into that.
It very could. All right, so today's topic, we're talking about mid-year MVPs. We were easily able to pick who our MVP is from AEW and our MVP is from WWE.
Oh, no problem. No doubt.
No doubt. So Mr. American Nightmare Cody Rhodes is our MVP for the WWE.
Obviously.
Yep. William Ospreay is our MVP for AEW.
Clearly. That was probably a harder decision to make, because
you want to say the champ. I mean,
right. You always want to say the champ. You want to say Swerve. I mean, you got MJF returning. He was the tit holder for a while there. He was the one, ushering in the new era, kind of running the ship while everybody else was floundering and backstage fighting and all that.
Right.
So you want to include those guys, but I mean, damn, the matches that we've gotten out of Will Ospreay in these first 6 months of the year, hell, can you really deny it?
No, do that. And again, I'm kind of happy he wound up going the AEW route.
Yeah,
because looking back and knowing what's transpired in WWE over the past 6 months.
That bottleneck we were just talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't have been able to be Will Ospreay.
No, absolutely not. He'd probably be in a three-way with Logan Paul and LA Knight at SummerSlam. I mean, that would be the world he'd be swimming in right now. Realistically, just because there ain't no room at the top. And I mean, eventually Roman's coming back, right? When Roman comes back, everybody's getting pushed down. And so when that happens, go ahead and accept everything changes at that point. Yep. And a guy like Will Ospreay, he ain't going against Roman no time soon, so he gets pushed down way farther than some of the other guys.
Yep. So let's go ahead and start with Ospreay, since we're kind of on the topic of Ospreay. Let's start with him. So the first match that we kind of talked about was Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson.
Yep.
First and foremost, two guys that have the cardio and the motor to go in the ring that can go forever and a day.
Oh yeah, they could still be wrestling if that damn bell didn't have to ring. They'd still be going.
That match within itself, crazy story that kind of come out of that, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole thing with Ospreay now is he's vowed, I'm never doing the Tiger Driver 91 again.
Yeah.
Because he gave it to Danielson, and Danielson pseudo or shoot screwed up his neck after that move.
So Danielson is CM Punk at this point in time, right? Every match he's coming out with some kind of injury. So I don't know so I get it. It happens, so you make it into an angle. You try to play off of it in storyline, but that move is dangerous no matter what, right? So he definitely could have hurt Bryan Danielson in that move,
right?
Or it could have been story. The beauty of it is because it's Bryan Danielson, you don't know.
You don't know, and that's and I hate to say it this way because it sounds morbid. Trust me, I don't want the guy to get hurt, but every match you just don't know, like. Is it work, shoot, partial? Yeah. What is it? Because
although rumors have it, he might not be doing it for much longer. I mean, it sounds like he's in Bobby Lashley territory right now as far as his contract goes in Wembley. So.
I think more than his contract is giving up on him, though.
Yeah.
His body's starting to
get it gotta be. I mean, they said, I think I read that his contract actually ends on his son's birthday. And I'm like, well, you almost can't write it better than that. And then let's be honest, if Brie Bella is hanging around at home all the time and your ass is leaving to go hang out with a bunch of sweaty dudes in the locker room.
Yeah, you got the wrong priority.
Yeah, hell yeah. I'm looking at the alternative option and I'm like, 7-8 sweaty big dudes in a locker room, Brie Bella. Yeah, what am I doing? I'm going what the hell, right? What am I doing here? Why am I here?
But that match was an incredible technicians match. Of course, you know, you get into these matches with both of these guys, and so let's talk about them as a pair real quick. The matches that they've had with both of them tore it up with Okada.
Yep.
Both of them tore it up with Zack Sabre Jr.
Yep.
I mean, it's just incredible stuff that these guys
both had beggars will swerve. I mean,
exactly. So I mean, the fact that you put these two guys, pitted them against each other. It was an instant classic before the bell even rang. You knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because AEW had hyped it up as the best match ever. They were putting it on par with Steamboat Savage 6 months before it even happened.
Right.
They're like, this is going to be the best match you've ever seen. And it got to a point where everybody was like, I don't even care if I see it anymore because you've said it so much. Yep. But when it happened and you were able to experience it, it's like, okay, I don't want to have passed that up. I needed to see that happen while it's available to happen, while the two guys are healthy enough to put on that kind of spectacle.
So let's talk about the second match that we kind of put on our list here with Ospreay, and that was Ospreay versus Swerve.
Yeah. I mean, he was the other contender as far as AEW for Wrestler of the Year. I mean, he's been the champ almost the entire year. He's had a great run for what AEW can offer.
Right.
In WWE, he's Kofi Kingston, right? It's like he's Rey Mysterio. He's the champ, but he ain't the main storyline.
I hate to agree with that, but I do.
It kind of is. I mean, it is what it is, but it's also the best AEW can offer him because of what they've got to offer him. So they're giving him their best. It's just not what's on par to what we want.
Right. So this wasn't like Ospreay Danielson, though, where Ospreay Danielson was technical. This was... It wasn't hardcore, but it was Smash Mouth.
Yeah, it was. So it looked real, right?
Yeah, it looked legit. Real. You had both guys trying to do moves standing on top of the damn ring barricade.
Yep.
Doing moves on the ring apron. Just some crazy stuff going on between these two.
Yeah, they went deep in the bag for that. They didn't give you a standard catch as catch can.
Right.
But they also did make it a Young Bucks match where it was like a spot
fest. Yeah.
They made it where it looked all understandable. Like, okay, I see why they're doing this move at this time.
And these two guys,
I understand it.
These two guys had history. They had tangled prior. But the thing is, and this is where AEW, and I don't want it to be, a bag on AEW, but this is where AEW always misses the mark when you got two guys that have had history, they fail to tell the history behind it.
Yeah, they mentioned it, but they didn't.
Yeah, they expect the wrestling fan to know it.
And that's the thing, because they know it, because they're the indie darling, the fans that watch AEW. Let's be honest. I mean, a small subset of WWE fans like us watch AEW religiously.
Right.
The majority of the people that are watching AEW religiously are the ones who completely turned away from WWE and they wanted that outlet. That's where the majority of their fans go. So I get it. The majority of their fans understood the history. They understood the reasoning and all that. That's great. But when you leave out the rest of your fans, how do they always say it? They're preaching to the minority, right. the loud minority. Right. Well, let's say they average about 700,000 to 800,000 viewers a week, right? 2 know all the stuff, right? They know all the backstory. They know every reason. They know these guys up and down, side to side. The other 6 are just watching wrestling. And when they're watching, they're like, hey, why are Swerve and Will Ospreay wrestling? Oh, well, he's wrestling for the title. Oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And that's as far as it goes. So when fans like us complain about there's no story in there, the potential's there, they just don't explore it enough.
Yep.
They hotshot the match because they want to hurry up and get it out there, let it happen. And for fans that want that extra, we're not getting it. So it just kind of leaves you waiting for more.
Now, their match also, their match was, if the lore behind the match is true, and again, it's lore. We don't know if what's being said about that match is fact or if it's fiction. But the story goes that Ospreay really felt that Swerve was being overlooked as champion because he ain't wrong. But it became, well, they're going to do Ospreay and Swerve at All In, and then Ospreay's going to get the title in Wembley, and Ospreay kind of took offense to that, and he's going, wait a minute.
Yeah, because you're completely blowing off getting ready to do this weekend. And you've just moved past it. You've already written the story out.
So Ospreay, was kind of like, hey, this match needs to happen now.
Yeah.
And I don't need to win.
Right.
There needs to be a statement made that nobody is above losing to the champion.
Right. Yeah.
And if
you got to keep value on the belt.
Right. And if that lore is true, good on Ospreay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't doubt that there's some truth behind it. I mean, it could be blown up. It could be, made into more than it actually was. But no part of me doubts that happened at some level in that way, simply because the guys know if the champion doesn't matter, then the promotion doesn't matter.
Right.
At the end of the day, if your champion's your third level performer, oh hell, it's a wrap. I mean, we've talked about this before when Daniel Bryan won in WWE, the first championship. The story leading up to it, the whole Yes movement, everything that
Fantastic.
happened, beating the entire Evolution in one night, all that was great. The follow-up, though, was he was like a third stringer. Right. He was coming off the bench with the world title. It's like, well, damn. Did you ever have Kobe come off the bench? Did Michael Jordan ever come off the bench? This is your guy. This is your MVP at the time, and he's your third stringer? Well, either one of two things is true. Either your first 2 strings are amazing, they're the best thing since sliced bread, which at the time they weren't, or you got pushed into this situation and now you're scrambling to figure it out at the end. I lean more towards that in this situation, because I don't think when Swerve won the title that was the long-term plan.
Right.
I feel like the movement that he was garnering and the fans getting behind him pushed them into saying, damn, this dude's over. We gotta capitalize on it.
And then his first match as champion is Christian.
Yeah, and it was mid-card. I mean, it wasn't even the main event of the pay-per-view. He didn't even main event the first show after winning the title. He came out like third. Like halfway through the first hour, he came out and did a promo. And it's like, damn, the world champion doesn't open the show. He doesn't close the show. He's third. So same difference, right? I feel like they got backed into a corner with Swerve where he got hotter than they were ready to handle. They put the title on him to capitalize on it and didn't really have that long-term vision for what they wanted his title reign to look like. So you got to have these guys like Will Ospreay and others step in and say, hey, we got to get this title and this guy back elevated. So
Absolutely.
When we do want to challenge for it, we're challenging a credible champion. We don't want to challenge a stand-in, or we don't want a transitional guy. The hell, there ain't no benefit in that. If I win the champion off a loser, Well, that just makes me a better loser than that loser. I want to beat a big time main event winner, and when I beat him, that makes me a big time main event winner. Anything else is passe.
Speaking of losers,
Uh-oh, here we go.
he's an asshole, but he's our asshole. Let's talk about Ospreay versus MJF. This, first and foremost, this is a match nobody saw coming.
No.
I mean, the match was announced the week before.
On TV.
On TV. Now, granted, it was Dynamite's 250th episode.
You're right.
Right? So, granted, there was some kind of special going on there, but everybody's like, MJF versus Ospreay. Okay, it's probably going to be another 20-minute match. MJF's going to screw Ospreay over.
Yeah.
The match's going to be ending in DQ, blah, blah, blah.
Which, all that happened.
All that happened.
All that except for the 20 minutes. All that happened.
Nobody expected them freakers to go 59 minutes and
59 minutes of a 2-hour show.
Jesus.
So of a 2-hour show, they went 1 hour, and it was justified.
Yeah, it was justified.
Everything else they put on in the second hour, I would have passed for another hour of those two guys. Yeah, I would have passed on all of it for the other two guys to wrestle for another 45 minutes.
Yep.
And then we could have ended the night with the whole Mariah May, Tony Storm thing. That's really all I needed to see that night.
So this was for the
Continental.
Was it the International Championship?
International Championship? I thought it was the Continental Championship.
I don't know. Hell, it could be back to the Mid-Atlantic Championship.
Well, now it's the American Championship because they couldn't really call it the U.S. title.
What
which
a freaking ugly belt.
I mean, you want to so MJF created it apparently, at least his storyline, and that shows why he shouldn't be a belt creator.
Yeah, no, don't ever do that.
Yeah, no, that's trash. They would have been better off to go get one of the old school.
Get a Kurt Angle belt.
Yeah, go one of the old school WCW belt where just the United States buckle was there on a leather strap. Yep. Hell, they'd have been better off to do that than what we got now. This is
so
gross.
So the match itself,
wasn't gross.
The match itself was kind of like one of those things where it's like, I'm watching it, I'm in my phone, TikToking it, and I'm realizing...
Because it was long as hell. I mean, not because it was poor quality.
But wait, I'm realizing at 15 minutes, like, these two dudes are still going.
Yeah.
And they're going.
Yeah, we're a couple commercials in, and
I'm like, okay. And then 30 minutes start rolling around, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
These two dudes. Now, granted, I'm not zoned out. I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
It's just AEW. Sorry, you don't garner my full attention.
No, I'm used to them being hit or miss. So
so it's not
on
like,
a Wednesday night. If there's other stuff going on, I'm probably doing it. I don't even think I watched it live. Matter of fact, I know for a fact I didn't watch it live. I watched whatever else was available on TV and figured, I'll watch it tomorrow night after work. Between work and when TV comes on again. I got a couple hours to kill. I'll watch it then. And I remember, and cook dinner and do all the other side stuff, and I'll just step in when I need to. And I remember the same thing you're saying, like stepping in, like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Dinner's done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready to serve. These two guys are still
going.
So I was like, well, while we're cooling down, let's sit down and see what's
pay
happening.
Attention a little bit.
Yeah, and as I sat down to see what's happening, I'm like, well, shit. Yeah, they're rolling out here. Let's go.
And what I loved about this match, though, is you had the true cutoff babyface heel. You had the true split. You had MJF pulling every heel antic that he could pull.
Yeah.
You saw him tease the kangaroo kick and not give it to the fans. Like he was definitely full on heel MJF, right?
He had to get himself back in heel territory so they would stop the face thing.
And then as the end of the match was drawing near, we saw it again where Ospreay could have pulled that Tiger Driver 91 out, but because he vowed never to use it again, he hesitated. MJF took advantage. Dynamite, diamond ring.
Hey, what do they always tell you? They say even when you're guarding your house, they say, if you pull that gun, don't pull it with intentions of scaring.
No, you pull it.
If you pulled it, hell, at that point you committed.
Yeah.
At that point, unless everything falls apart and and it does scare the offender away. Once you pulled it, you got to go. Yep. So same thing when Ospreay looked and he wanted to do the Tiger Drive, and once he holstered it, hell, it was a wrap then.
So
he blew it.
I see where it's going though. The American title came back because of it's going to be MJF versus Ospreay at All In Wembley.
Yeah.
That's going to be where Ospreay gets the the get back on MJF. He's going to get the title back.
They'll bring back the Continental
Bring
title.
back the Continental. It's going to all come back. Everything's good. And
which they could get away with both of those titles. They could do away with both of those titles. I'd be okay
with it.
Yeah, having those titles. And I know a couple of weeks ago we were all excited about bringing in the mid-card women's titles, but
tell me this.
How many mid-card titles do we have at AEW?
Tell me this. Who's the TNC champion?
Hook.
I had no clue.
It's not Hook. I mean, it's definitely not Hook.
No clue.
I remember, at some level, somebody asked that last week, and they said, "Who's the TNT?" Had no clue.
Who's the trios champions?
So I know that one. It's shit. I don't know it now. I had it though. So because they just flip flopped the titles, but they flip flopped them on like. No, I think that was Ring of Honor. So yeah, see, that's the problem.
This is AEW's problem. There's too many titles.
Exactly. There's too many titles. There's no story to go with it.
But
so you're not invested in any of them. Where's Sammy Guevara?
He just came back apparently on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view Sunday.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
I saw that the other night.
I heard mention of him, and then I said, damn, I ain't heard Sammy Guevara and Tay Mello in years.
He came back to help somebody in a match.
Oh, great.
Dustin. He came back to help Dustin.
There you go. Okay, I can see that.
So even though we bagging on AEW a little bit, still the MVP, Ospreay.
Not bagging on Ospreay.
No, not bagging on Ospreay. Ospreay, keep doing what you're doing, bud. Enjoying the work, enjoying everything that you're putting out right now. Keep going. Loving it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's change gears. WWE. Who is our MVP for WWE?
No brainer.
Cody.
If you're out there saying anybody except Cody right now, your ass ain't been watching.
Yeah, and this ain't a fandom thing. This is a hey, this is who it is.
Yeah, I mean the full machine got behind Cody. I mean
that's the key. The full machine got behind.
And the reason they did is because winning the title, even though I was completely against it, I'm like, man, we can ride out a little more road, but we got more story to tell. The fan, participation behind Cody winning that title has been insane. I mean, conversation has been had that he's approaching John Cena levels of selling out and merch sales and things like that. And we haven't seen anybody do that since John Cena. I mean, even Roman didn't get up to these levels of numbers.
Right.
And Cody's there, 3 months into his title reign? Good Lord. So when that kind of stuff happens, at that point, the snowball's rolling down the hill, right? Yep. You can either be an asshole and say, hey, I'm going to try and push that snow over, or you just get on that joke and ride that wave until it runs out. And I mean, it's rolling hot right now. You don't pass on that. Like I said, the full machine got behind Cody. They put all resources into making him the MVP of the year. And damn, they're halfway through it. They've achieved that and some.
Yep. So let's talk about what really got Cody on the map, the feud with the Bloodline.
Yep.
So the first match we want to talk about is Rock Roman versus Seth Cody.
Oh, God. I mean, it elevated everybody, right? I mean, so anytime you're bumping shoulders with The Rock, you're in a different conversation as far as wrestling goes anyway.
Right.
So that part existed. The fact that Cody was able to get the fans to get him involved in that showed the fans' love for him. And the fact that he showed out in it and then culminated it, with the win, good Lord. I mean, the Rocket can't go no farther up his ass at this point. I mean, good Lord, it's coming out his nose. I mean, hell, there ain't nothing else you can do. They did it all. And I mean, he capitalized on everything they gave him. He hasn't missed a beat.
So let's talk about something real quick. So we're talking about Cody as our MVP.
Yeah.
So wrestling is not a singularity sport. Takes two to tango.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about those 3 men for a minute that were in that match with him.
2 and Seth. Let's be honest. We had 2 and Seth. So.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. So 2 and Seth.
Yeah. Because he was there, but the one-legged angel wasn't doing his best to work that night.
So let's talk about these 3 guys real quick though. How selfless were they in this story?
Seth wasn't, right? Seth got elevated like hell.
Seth got elevated.
He was on his way to being like a opening match of Saturday Night WrestleMania guy,
right?
He got elevating himself
that was
billboards and ESPN and Vegas promos and shit.
That really wasn't his fault though. That
wasn't his fault. He played the hand he was dealt.
But that was CM Punk getting injured.
Yeah, he played the hand he was dealt, and he played the hell out of it. I mean, he got himself involved in probably the biggest angle we've ever seen in wrestling.
Yep.
Kudos to him. I'm not shitting on him by no means. they needed him to come in and be that utility guy. And damn it, on one leg, he said, I'm going to do it because I ain't never going to see this echelon again. So, hell, whatever you need, I'm there.
This match doesn't happen, though, unless Rock pivots.
No, I mean...
So, I mean, Rock could have been bullheaded.
Could have been steadfast and just said, I was promised this.
F the fans,
and,
I'm doing
and I'm the owner. We're just going to... I mean, and he said it in the documentary. He said, we could have just soldiered through. And he said, he thought about it because that was his match. It was his showcase. It was his spotlight.
Yep.
But he realized, hey, this ain't about me.
Yep.
He said, yeah, I'm helping, but I'm only helping. These guys are here every week, week in and week out. I can't take this from them and the fans, or we're going to be AEW. Yep. I mean, at that point,
fans are going to revolt.
Yeah, at that point, all of a sudden AEW would have 3 million viewers every week, and Raw would have 600,000. So Rock's heavy investment is now worth crap. So Rock said, you know what? Can't do that. So we're going to have to pivot.
And then the match continued into the second match we wanted to talk about, night 2, which was Cody versus Roman.
Oh yeah.
Now, when I picture Roman and Cody, Roman was unstoppable.
Yep.
Roman was billed as, this is my tribal chief.
Yep.
I've got to acknowledge him. Nobody in the whole entire wrestling world was supposed to roll over Roman. Nobody. Yep. Roman had everything on lock that hard.
Yep.
Until David decided to fight Goliath.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, the only conceivable idea when we opened the year of Roman possibly losing was to Rock.
Right.
I mean, that was the only, but because that's how we started on day one is, damn, Rock's going to challenge Roman. Hell, if there's only one person on the planet that could beat him, it's Hercules, right? It's The Rock. Well, because of the fans and because of pivoted, like you said, David had to go out there, with his stone and his sling and figure something out. Damn, did he?
He shot his shot.
He did. Hell.
So when you get Cody and Roman in this match, first things first, WrestleMania 39, that Cody Roman match had a different feel.
Yeah.
It was a completely different feel because in that WrestleMania 39 match, even if you were a fan of Cody, you had your doubts. You were like, absolutely. Oh, God, I don't know if he's going to do this, right? You had your doubts. But then this WrestleMania 40 match, because of how everything turned, how it all built up with The Rock, how he got involved, you felt the tide changing. You felt it coming.
It moved to a different scale.
And then it moved to a different thing where it was like, as a fan, as a smart fan, you knew it's now or never.
Yeah, because you got The Rock involved.
So
at this point now, where Roman was your biggest star.
Look at that, bit to The Rock and everything.
Absolutely. But you had Roman as your biggest star, and you can't topple the biggest star. The biggest star at all time. Well, now somebody bigger came, so you have to work into that storyline. And damn, you can't lose to the younger cousin and then go challenge the older cousin later on down the road.
Right.
You can't challenge, you can't lose to the head of the table and then you go challenge the high chief later.
Yep.
Don't work that way. You got to work your way up to that, and going through Roman was the only way to do it. And that's the only reason why it turned out to be justified in the long run. Last year, we didn't have any of these options.
Right.
None of this was on the table, so Roman winning was the only way to go. This year, when you've got even an even bigger stage you can participate on, oh hell, you got to do everything you can to get to that.
And you can talk about all day long. You can talk about, you
can talk about your Psalms, you can talk about your Proverbs, you can talk about your John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass. Sorry, I zoned out there for a second. I channeled.
So everybody, they have the argument, well, Cody wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for Cena, if it weren't for The Undertaker, blah, blah, blah.
Hell, Roman had a 3.5-year reign because of everybody.
Right. And I'm
he
like,
wouldn't have been able to do it for 2 pay-per-views.
I'm like, you can't even go there. You can't. That's not even like legit.
That was for show anyway. I mean, that was a way to get all the biggest names you could possibly get a hold of into the biggest match you could ever possibly put on.
But for Cody to come out on top that night was special. That was one of the coolest. That's probably one of the coolest moments that I've seen in a long time.
That probably etched him in as MVP. I mean,
Absolutely.
I know we still got more to get to, but that weekend, if nothing else, that shouldered him into MVP status right there.
Let's move on to the third match we wanted to talk about, and this was the challenger that arose after he was done with the Bloodline.
Yeah.
AJ Styles.
Unexpected, right?
Unexpected. Where
everybody
did AJ
you would think
come
after,
from?
after coming off a Roman, it's like, well, where do you go from here? And remember, we were skeptical. We were like, at this point now, we've reached the highest of highs. The Rock has already said, hey, I'm going away. It's like, well, hell, we're on the downside of this mountain now, because we hit the peak. We can only go down from here. Well, AJ said, no, we can level out. He said, we may not be able to get better, but hell, we don't have to go down either. We could just level up here for a while.
Now, I want to give a MVP to the MVP in this match. The MVP to the MVP goes to the crowd of Leon France.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That crowd was hot, crazy, raucous. They were chanting for AJ, chanting for Cody.
Yeah.
Crazy back and forth with the crowd in this match.
Yep.
I will never, ever forget how the crowd responded in this match.
No, and the fact that, they weren't just Cody. They had a lot of AJ chants. Now, granted, the AJ chants worked for one of their one of their sayings they already had.
Right, the phenomenal song. That
so they love saying it, but it made you interested in it because AJ had to play off of it like, wait a minute, we don't want to turn here.
Right.
We got to make sure I'm the heel. So he had to be more heelish to say, hey, you guys can sing the song, but you have to still know when to boo me when time to boo comes.
Yep.
So he made sure to play into it, and it just showed his range of saying, I'm not going to just fall into it. What the easy way out would have just been like, hey, sing my song.
Yep.
Turn into Seth Rollins, pussyfoot around out there and dance and whatever. I had to find a way to get that word in there. But he could have played into it just, and we could have had problems going forward because, it would have made Cody look the wrong way and put AJ in something he didn't need to be in. But AJ knows his role at this point in the career. And he said, hey, my job out here is to make Cody the man, is to show that he can put on a great match, put on a banger, but can leave and be the man. So he played his role just right. So, what'd you say earlier? MVP doesn't get there by himself. You got to have the right person
somebody
with
to tango
him.
with.
Yeah, and AJ was the right person. Unconventional as hell because we definitely didn't see it. But he turned out to be the right guy to make that happen.
But this is where the WWE excels in telling some prior history. This is where it kind of came together. And it came together because AJ and Cody had some prior history with a little faction called the Bullet Club over in New Japan.
And two Georgia boys.
They played into a lot.
In that match, just letting it be known, like, hey, AJ's like, hey, I came to see you when you were wrestling in high school. And blah, blah, blah. They just found a way to tie those two together to where you're invested in the match. It's not just a match because it's two guys, right? You're like, oh, wait a minute. AJ, of course, pulled the Dusty card. Well, I'm glad we ain't pulling that no more.
Right.
So but AJ, it was understandable in that realm. Right. So AJ pulled the Dusty card, and you're like, okay, but he was able to go past that and say, hey, this is mine and yours history. This is why it's important to us. And then, like you said, when he could tie in the Japan angle, hey, that just gave him a whole different thing for fans to be curious about. Like, hey, I got to look into this. I got to see what's happening.
Yep. With all that being said, with Cody, kind of looking at how it all transpired, Cody going from Stardust into the Cody that we see today.
Cody going from undesirable to undeniable.
See, you beat me to it. Yeah. That's where I was going.
Sometimes you feed. I'm like, you know what? I'm jumping right in. Give me a bite.
So, Cody being the MVP of WWE, that's very obvious. Same with Ospreay. There's another little MVP we need to talk about real quick.
Yeah,
I hear
totally deserve it at this point.
I hear a song in the background. What's the song?
Well, so rumor has it when you say his name that he appears because you believe in Joe Hendry. There you go. And good Lord, if TNA had an MVP. Dude. 2 months ago, I didn't even know who this dude was. I'd barely even heard.
Everywhere.
I'd barely even heard of TNA a couple of months
ago. He's on ESPN getting referenced.
Yeah, this dude is everywhere, and NXT's got their hold on him right now where they're like, we're going to give you whatever exposure we got. And good Lord, I mean, he's taking the ball and skyrocketing with it. Like, they say pick it up and run. Hell, he started running when they caught it to him. But hell, he's gone now. I mean, he's flying at this point.
No idea who the dude was. Started seeing the references come up. Catchiest song in the world right now.
And NXT is the perfect place for him. Absolutely. Because they know who he is, so they participate with it, being all based down in Florida and all that. They're already familiar. And it is a smaller crowd, so you're not trying to put him out in front of 80,000 at WrestleMania, debut him, and expect the fans to know the song and all that. No, you work him up through the WWE ranks, right. But letting him be a TNA guy, there's still that whole intrigue of, man, is this an invasion, or what are we doing, or how is he over here? And it brings a whole different aura and mystique about Joe Hendry that the other wrestlers just aren't able to have right now.
I fully expect him to be in a backstage, some way of a backstage skit appearance somewhere at SummerSlam. I fully expect it.
Yeah. You gotta at least put him out there. I mean, you gotta see what you got.
I don't care if you run a backstage promo skit, whatever. You run that, and then the camera cuts away, and then all of a sudden it pans back, and it's Joe Hendry standing there.
you gotta see what you got, right?
Yeah.
At this point now, he's all over NXT. You gotta see what the mainstream crowd knows.
Right.
Are you gonna get more viewers? Are the numbers gonna spike? Is the whole dog pound going to erupt when he comes out there? What's going to happen?
If you do that and then you get him trending on Twitter,
absolutely,
at
that point is huge.
Yep.
I mean, so and they're going to run it all. They're going to run the clip all over social media. It'll be on your Instagrams, your Facebooks. The views, once they get to see the views, like holy hell, is it? That'll be where you prove it. Does this guy get 20,000 views, and it's like, ooh, that was crap. We keep him on NXT. We don't need to expand out of that. Or does he get 1 million views, and then you're like, oh my God, this dude's the hottest thing in he's a Stone Cold Steve Austin at this point. What do we do with him? How do we get TNA? Let him go. Set him free.
Yep.
You got to find out. That's the only way to find out. But damn. Talk about taking your opportunity and doing everything and some with it. Holy hell.
Honorable mention, Jordynne Grace.
Yep, same thing.
God. Jordynne Grace busted out on the scene a couple years ago. Everybody knew what an incredible talent she was as far as, first off, she's got a look nobody else has.
Yeah.
And granted, kudos to her. She looked like she whipped my ass any day.
Yep.
Like she could take me.
Yeah, she don't. I mean, when you see her, you're definitely not thinking, oh, another Barbie doll type wrestler. No. You're thinking, oh, hell, she's about to bring something. Something's coming here.
That's like the Lady Braun Breaker. I mean, she's jacked.
Yep.
But she's killing it in the ring. She's killing it cross promotional. She's been in 2 Royal Rumbles back to back.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I mean, just crazy stuff going on.
NXT pay-per-view time. So I mean, again, make the most of what you got. If there's an opportunity in front of you, you can stumble through it. You can just go out there and fold it in, or you can say, hey, today's the day I'm gonna make my name. And I mean, these two coming up from TNA, getting the NXT rep, they're making their name.
Yeah, they are taking full advantage of it, and I don't blame them.
Nope.
All right, everybody. So those are our mid-year MVPs. Drop us a line on our social media platforms. Let us know. Do you agree with that? Should there be somebody else that we're not talking about that you're like, God almighty, how dare y'all not even bring this person up?
The answer's no.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We thank you for listening to today's podcast, and we bid you adieu.
MVP.
Today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also, connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for The Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X.